Holt McCallany, and you're watching Real Fans, Real Talk.
Face facts, what up, what up? RealFansRealTalk.com. Where Arthur Diamonds, Trip Young, and intern Tom. For the white and black fans, Asia to Manhattan. I get all my facts from my bro Mark the Stats Man. If you're not tuned in, I recommend the CAT scan. And if your brain checks out, then you deserve a backhand. Sports, gossip, all the hot topics. RealFansRealTalk.com got it. They got the hottest bloggers.
Is Jeremy Lin hurt?
Well, log on to the site and you can hear it from them first. I'm talking about the latest. I'm talking about the greatest. Go check out the archives. Even tell a neighbor. Tell them Bobby sent ya. From spring to winter, tuning in should be the only thing on your agenda. Certified cosign, you know what I'm about, son. RealFansRealTalk.com. I'm out one. Real fans, real talk. Real fans, real talk. RealFansRealTalk.com. RealFansRealTalk.com. Real fans, real talk. Real fans, real talk. RealFansRealTalk.com. RealFansRealTalk.com.
Just had to bob my head a little bit to that theme song. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another live episode of Real Fans, Real Talk, the best sports news and talk television show on the planet. Of course, I'm Trip Young, and it just wouldn't be right if I didn't introduce to you my co-host. But before I introduce my co-host, because we had a big week in sports, inspired by the King James, if you guys saw that Boston-Miami game last night. Before we get into that, to my right, the one and only, the man, the myth, the legend, Mark the Statman Skevich.
How's it going, everyone? Glad to be here for another live episode of Real Fans, Real Talk. I'm wearing my Knicks jersey. Knicks coming off of a W yesterday as well. We'll get into that in a second, but first introducing our other co-host, the lovely Rose Claire, joining us.
Hi, everybody. Just wearing some green today for no reason at all because I haven't been on the show in the past few weeks.
Late St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, yeah. There you go. I haven't been on the show in the past few weeks, so I don't have to wear a bad team that I don't like, and I guess these two didn't either. So nobody's wearing bad memories today. That's
Not
kind
at
of a
all.
good thing, right?
Unless you're a Celtics fan, then you're wearing
Yeah,
bad memories from the
yeah.
Celtics
Yeah, exactly.
yesterday, but
Hey,
that's
I
not the case.
have no
so.
qualms. I actually thought they were going to win that game, but then they didn't. So.
I was
There we go with those picks.
kind of hoping, out of the sake of sheer hate, that that would end up happening and the streak would have ended. But Boston couldn't hold on to it.
Nope.
LeBron James with a clutch shot towards the end, and LeBron James in clutch is not something that I say often, but he did come through at the end. And another thing about Green, Jeff Green doing his thing for the Celtics, 43 points.
He did have a career high.
I mean, definitely did not expect that from Jeff Green, but it wasn't enough. Towards the end, he wasn't making those shots, and they needed him down the stretch. It wasn't enough, and
Which I said
the Heat managed to continue on that streak.
They most certainly did, and you know I had a feeling this was going to happen with Jeff Green in the fourth. All of that, you know, all those shots he was making, that was going to come to a screeching halt in the fourth quarter. But first, let me just say this statement. I'm proud because I like that you can admit the fact that you are a hater when it comes to LeBron James and still give him the credit where it's due.
That's a pretty well documented fact.
It is, yeah. And I got to say, you know, when you can admit that you're a hater and still give credit where it's due, I got to respect that. You know, but as far as Jeff Green, yeah, he did play an amazing game. I mean, I was hoping LeBron would have switched on him sooner, but I understand, you know, they wanted him to be on Paul Pierce and kind of keep Paul Pierce in check, which, you know, he did a great job on Paul Pierce. And then in the fourth quarter, he switched over and took Jeff Green. The play of the game, though, outside of that whole LeBron Jason Terry situation, though, I got to say was the block by Shane Battier to stop Jeff Green from, you know, making a basket that would have potentially tied up the game in the fourth quarter. That was a huge defensive stop right there. And then, of course, he goes down on the other end, throws the basketball off of Paul Pierce's back, and runs in bounds and catches it, which I like. I like seeing Paul Pierce get embarrassed after his whole, you know, attitude in the garden that time.
Paul Pierce is on my hate list. Not on the same as LeBron James.
He's not number one.
I am president of the LeBron James Club, and I said before to Skip Bayless, I'd like to thank you for endorsing our organization over the years. I sincerely appreciate that. So.
Well, I have to say, you know, even on the radio show, I said I thought that the Celtics would for sure win it. And I just want to mention that amazing pattern here. 5 years ago, to almost the exact day, I believe, the Celtics were the ones to snap a 22-game win streak against Houston. Now, again, the Miami Heat come to them with a 22-game win streak. Same thing going on. And incidentally, Miami happened to lose to Boston the last time they were there, I think the end of January, right before they started this crazy streak. And that was the start of the Boston streak of 11 win games at home. So it was one was going to snap the other. I really thought the Celtics were going to snap the Miami because of that pattern. Yeah. But also a huge factor to that game, I think, is the fact that Kevin Garnett was not in. And he's kind of like, even though we don't think he deserved to be an all-star, I don't think he's too dominant of a player for the Celtics, but he's kind of the emotional leader. Yeah. And the fact that he would come on the court and probably be like, LeBron, yo mama, or like your girlfriend or your wife or whatever, he takes the low blows. I thought for sure he was going to come on and do a low blow and make them win the game, you know. So I think if he were on, it would have been a different factor, but he was out. I thought I was brilliant for thinking this. This was before, because I didn't watch the game at all. So I was thinking that maybe it was some ploy because the Celtics, who do they hate more than even the Heat? The Lakers, right? So the Lakers have the streak at 33 games. They have the number one game winning streak. So I thought maybe they would come in and be like, oh, we'll lose on purpose, and then let the Heat snap the Lakers. We don't want to get in the way of that. But watching the actual game afterwards, I saw that it came so close, and it wasn't.
They disliked the Heat, and there would have been no letting Miami win anything.
I thought I was brilliant for thinking that.
They did, however, stop the Houston Rockets streak, which was who Miami was tied with at 22 wins in a row. When they came to they were actually in Houston, and Boston stopped their streak. It didn't happen today. There were a couple of highlights from that game. One in particular, which you guys know, and I know a couple of weeks ago, which I'm gonna ask these guys to run that clip again. We saw DeAndre Jordan catch an alley-oop dunk over Brandon Knight, and it looked nasty. Mm-hmm. Now, last night, we saw LeBron James catch an alley-oop dunk over Jason Terry, and it also looked nasty.
We all saw it because you posted it on Facebook.
I did post it in the group on Facebook, and if you guys would like to follow us on Facebook, you can actually hit us up, facebook.com/Real Fans Real Talk, and you can actually see that video. But we're going to show it to you live on set today. We're actually going to show you both videos today. We're going to do a little comparison and compare and contrast on those videos and see who brought the most thunder down on that dunk. So if we can actually get that first with up and running, show you guys a little bit of what we saw a week ago with DeAndre Jordan, and then we'll get to LeBron.
I don't think you're topping this one. I'm sorry. It's not even just the sheer. It's not even just the sheer hate. Look at the kids going nuts over there.
I'm sure they were going nuts in Miami.
There's still the aftershock going on.
Let's not base it off the kids that were going nuts in the first round.
Yeah, but I mean, just like he really. I mean, that was like. You'll see the LeBron James one in a second, but that one was full authority right there. I mean,
he definitely did. It was definitely full.
And it was more
authority.
Contested too. Like there was more of a body up against DeAndre Jordan than there was.
Also about a foot difference in height between those two, whereas it's only about a 4-inch difference between Jason Terry and LeBron James.
Yeah, but it's not just about height, it's about body mass too. LeBron James is significantly larger.
And he's not significantly larger than Brandon Knight.
I'm not saying he isn't, but you're trying to say that it's still a huge difference. But the thing, there was more power with the DeAndre Jordan one than there was with the LeBron James one. As far as body mass, it's almost the same as what I'm trying to say. Like
let's
the height
see the other one.
Let's check out this LeBron James
dunk. I don't.
Like Terry got his, there's no question.
He's
Terry
been
got
talking
posterized,
a lot.
It just didn't seem like it was with as much authority. Can we get the LeBron James
we're gonna break this thing down in a second once this LeBron James video gets up there. All right.
Well, let's talk about it a little bit more because I don't think our highlights coming. I don't know. I thought that the LeBron one was pretty horrific.
They're 20 of 30
here
tonight. Jason Terry, good defense.
First of all, the defense
from behind takes it away.
Starts it off.
He kind of turned around and didn't even know it was coming. It's not like he got a full contest like Knight did.
Listen. First of all, Well, I think even what just added to the dunk was the stare down after the fact that got LeBron. Let's look at this one. First of all, look at the defense from D-Wade. Behind the back.
He's over there turning around at the last second. It's like there was nothing he could do.
In your face, Charlie Murphy. That's what that dunk says right there. In your face, Charlie Murphy.
Did you see how hard Knight hit the paint afterwards? Like, Terry barely even knew it was coming. Kind of got knocked off balance, like last second trying to jump. Knight was there. He saw it coming. He went right at him, and he got bodied basically.
He did. He definitely did.
I got to go to the DeAndre. They were both impressive. I'm going to DeAndre Jordan. No, it's definitely not the hate bias on that.
I don't know if it's the hate bias or not with you because I know at least you admit your hate, so it may not be the hate bias. I'm, however, going with the LeBron James over Jason Terry. You know. First of all, and then if you look after the dunk, if you look at DeAndre Jordan, says he makes it kind of one of those,
like,
and then
it's like, oh, that was LeBron, pretty nice. Yeah, well, LeBron
gave him the eyes, like, yeah, what's up? You know, I'm the top
big
dog.
Tough guy LeBron
I'm
going
the top
up.
dog.
After someone half his size, and he took him down. DeAndre Jordan's kind of like,
and when you in that circle down there, that's big boy land down there. Don't get in the big boy land if you're not ready to be a big boy.
Well, I like the defense of the Heat. I like the behind the back and then the dunk. I think the Heat just takes it slightly over it, but
as far as the play like is concerned with the defense, but as far as the power of the dunk,
I don't know the power of the dunk. They both knocked their defender over. They both seem like really powerful dunks. That's why I think that it was the surrounding accessories that kind of got me in the end.
One, the pass and the first D-Wade pass to set it up, boom. Yeah. All right, then you get the quick pass to Norris Cole. The Norris Cole flicks it up to LeBron. Then here comes LeBron throwing it down with the thunder. Jason Terry, you've been talking a lot of trash to LeBron. He's not impressive to you. Well, he just impressed you right there. He put you on your back.
Terry and Knight both kind of got abused in that play, and
yes.
Got a little bit hurt how hard they hit the paint on that one, but of course they're showing it one more time.
That's King James. I mean, no, we gave DeAndre Jordan his just due when that play happened, but right now we got to give the King his due.
Well, but in other news, there are some injuries over there, and I'm kind of sick of talking about the Heat, and it's not exactly good news. It's not exactly good news with the Knicks. We're going to continue looking at this one last time in slow motion, apparently.
You know what? I got to say thank you to the guys upstairs in the booth because you guys make this show so amazing.
All right. Well, there is some bad news and good news in Knicks land. The Knicks did come off of a victory yesterday against the Utah Jazz. We got to see some of the other talents over there. Being Chris Copeland starting off a little well in the beginning of the game. Towards the end of the first half, he's kind of chucking it up as if he's the superstar on the team, and that wasn't working too well. But they got it together. J.R. Smith had a great second half, and the Knicks end up managing to get that W despite their injuries to their two superstars, Carmelo Anthony and Amare Stoudemire. And, of course, last year's Defensive Player of the Year, Tyson Chandler, is out of the equation as well. Both Tyson Chandler and Carmelo Anthony are expected to come back within the week, so it's not a season-ending injury for them.
It's a neck injury for Tyson Chandler and the knee for Carmelo.
Yeah.
The injury's going around New York. What's going on? Statman, you still got your knee injury?
You know what it is? The Knicks are so old that even their rookies are old.
Yeah. Yeah, this is amazing to me.
Pablo Prigioni is like 35. He's a rookie. I mean, and Chris Copeland's 29. So even our rookies are old. So, I mean, they came from overseas and everything, but,
they're still a pretty old team, though.
Kurt Thomas, even at 40 years old, he was doing his thing, playing despite his foot injury.
He's always had a lot of heart.
Got a few blocks in there and a couple of points as well. So he was doing his thing, making his presence known defensively, especially. And even though the Knicks are old, they're still doing their thing. And everyone's kind of giving up hope on the Knicks already. But those injuries to Carmelo and Tyson Chandler, like I said, they're not permanent injuries. They're still coming back. They're still in third place in the Eastern Conference. So you guys, you got to relax a little bit. We're not out of it yet. We're used to being at the bottom of the playoff seeding. We're actually at the top right now, and we're recovering from some injuries. So give us a break. I mean, New York fans in general, Knicks fans, they get way too worried about situations. This one's injured. That they are coming back, and I
don't
think the Knicks,
even necessarily know if it's just they're worrying right now. I think it's the realism of how good Miami is playing. That there's no team in the Eastern Conference that's gonna knock them out of the playoffs. I think that's what it is. Even if they were healthy, with the way Miami is dominating on both ends of the basketball, you kind of got to look at that and say, who in the Eastern Conference can stop Miami playing the way they're playing right now?
Right.
well, I mean,
totally agree.
they are streaking. They are playing, some games against talented teams, some games against some less talented teams as well. And they do have sole possession of the second longest streak in history. As you said, they passed the Houston Rockets streak from 07-08 of 22. They have 23 going on now. They have 10 more games to tie it. But they have to go through San Antonio during that process. And if they get through that, then they have to play the Knicks again, who they haven't exactly dominated this season, believe it or not. And, even without Carmelo Anthony, when they played in Miami, they gave the largest deficit of a loss in the LeBron James era, which I like to remind Trip Young of constantly.
You can remind me of that because we both know, at the end of the day, they haven't got out the first round since, when I was like about this high on the ground, when I was about knee high. So that's fine with me. And at the end of the day, we both know who's number one. We saw what happened the last time they played. And the way the saying goes is you're only as good as your last game. And the last game versus Miami, which was in Madison Square Garden, they took a loss. And the way Miami is playing right now, they're not even in the same
The Knicks also have not had a single game this entire season where they had a full roster. They've had at least somebody injured throughout the course of the entire season.
Any more excuses you want to make for the Knicks?
I'm just saying,
because that's a part of the game. You play with those injuries.
Well, if LeBron James was injured, you wouldn't be talking about the Heat being. You're talking about Carmelo Anthony being injured. That's the Knicks' best player. So, you want to say
he's just been injured. He hasn't been injured the entire season. The Knicks started out doing very well,
and they're in third place.
They've cooled off. That's because they had a great start.
18-5.
They cooled off now. We're talking about they're coming off of losing 4 out of their last five games, and to teams that they could have beaten even without those players injured, they could have still beat a couple of those teams. They did manage to beat Utah, which is good. Maybe they're getting back on track, but can they hold on, because Brooklyn is coming for them. All right.
Brooklyn, we've also been a little bit inconsistent too, and I just wanted to point that out. Just because, Statman, I was going to lay into you a little bit. The Knicks have played some pretty terrible, and I hate to say it because I know we're a little outnumbering you tonight, but some terrible games. And you always say, don't freak out, Knicks fans, but they kind of embarrassed themselves with huge point deficits, and they actually lost 4 of their last 5 games on the road. 20 but then again, just to get on the Nets a little bit too, every time we start playing well,
Chandler
hold on.
And Melo being out,
they're right. We do have. You guys have injuries. That's true. You guys have a lot of injuries. They're going to come back, and then we're going to see. But even when they are in, there are some really embarrassing losses with the Knicks. The Nets at the same time have done that too, where we'll win a game, and even the coach PJ Carlissimo will say, we're playing our best basketball now, the best game we played all year, and then they go and lose to Philly, who's one of the worst teams in the league. So we're all a little bit inconsistent, and like Trip Young said, who's going to play the Heat? Who's going to match the Heat? I don't see any team on the West or the East that's going to even match them.
If the Heat had their 2 best players injured, and I was digging into you, how come the Heat are playing so? How come they're losing by this? You would say LeBron James and Dwayne Wade are injured, but it's not okay when I say Carmelo Anthony and Tyson Chandler and Amare Stoudemire.
Would you say that Kevin Garnett and Rajon Rondo are the Celtics' 2 best players?
Yeah.
They didn't lose by 20 to Miami last night.
And they didn't lose. The Knicks played OKC. They had their guys injured, and they only lost by 2 points also.
Exactly. So it's not all about having those top 2 players out. Listen, you can still win games. The Celtics went on a 10-game winning streak, 11-game
winning games without their best players than the Heat do, because the Heat are only their big 3. If any of those guys are injured, you guys aren't
I believe in the playoffs last year, Chris Bosh was out.
Yeah,
and they still won.
And they almost lost in 7 games to Indiana until he came back. Until he came back. If Chris Bosh did not come back, they were not passing Indiana.
Wow, that's a very strong opinion that you have. But the way LeBron James was playing, I don't know about that.
Yeah, it's like apples and oranges with those teams right now. You really can't.
And he didn't
compare
even
them.
come back until the Celtics series.
Well,
They beat Indiana without Chris Bosh. So what are you saying? That was after when Bosh came back, and they still beat Indiana without one of the big three playing because the other players stepped it up. Guys like Shane Battier was knocking down threes, Chalmers, Norris Cole, all of these guys were stepping it up. But at the end of the day, the bottom line is there's
Bosh is
nobody
number 3 out of the big three, but,
right now that's seeing Miami, including the Knicks, the Nets, Indiana, OKC, the Spurs.
Well,
they're not
there's
seeing
no
Miami
question
right now.
that the Miami is the favorite to win in the playoffs, but you make it seem like they're completely invincible, and the guys like Indiana who beat them twice this year in the regular season can't beat them. The Knicks who beat them twice this year can't beat them in the playoffs.
It's a different monster when you go
you
into the
make it
playoffs.
seem like,
in the
you make
regular
it seem like it's
season,
impossible.
It's
That's the
obviously,
bias there. There's no
obviously
question that they're the favorite. I know that they're the
impossible.
favorite. Everybody knows that they're the favorite, but you
Nothing
make it
is
seem like it's
impossible,
impossible
obviously.
with the
It's
talent that's out there. Like upsets don't happen. The Denver Nuggets beat the Sonics, an 8 seed knocking out a 1
Yeah,
seed.
we saw
no
the
one thought
Warriors
that was
beat
possible.
Dallas
yeah,
one
we
year.
see
We
these
saw-
things happen.
we saw the
so
Knicks make it
why
to the
you make it
finals
seem
one
like
year
it's
from
impossible?
Well,
from
no.
the AC,
And
but-
I'm only speaking for myself here. I'm not saying it's impossible at all. Like you said, anything can happen. There's so much more talent out there. But Statman, who out of all these teams, what team do you think could actually beat the Miami Heat in a 7-game series?
I think that the other guys in the top 4, Indiana, New York, and even Brooklyn.
You think?
Look at Brooklyn's roster. Look at their lineup. It's a possibility. They
Miami's
have talent.
has dominated Brooklyn this season. So if you want to
it's
go
coming
by
from
now
that
the
if you wanna
season
go-
matters,
that's
right?
what I'm
Now
saying.
the season matters.
No, because that's what you're saying. You're saying that.
Oh, okay.
But that's listen. When you
I
go
just
into the
think,
playoffs,
right. The
it's a
playoffs
completely
is a
different
beast
monster,
in
different
a
type of
7-game
pressure.
series. It's different.
you know, we talking about the best player on the Knicks team hasn't been out of the first round of the playoffs in his career. Because it's a whole different ball game, and we're gonna see because I know we're gonna keep
We
going back
definitely will see.
and
And
forth with this.
thankfully, there's one more.
You should just hope that the Knicks don't fall out of the bottom half of that bracket and get bumped down to where they got to see Miami in the second round because they won't make it past Miami if they play. They won't make it past Miami, period. But it'll just be worse for them because they won't get a chance to make it out the second round.
All right, well, enough about the Miami versus New York. One last thing, they will play again on April 2nd. On that road of Miami trying to get that 33-game winning streak. Like I said, they have to play San Antonio. If they do get past San Antonio and New York, they have the game where they would tie the record is against Philadelphia, and the game they would beat the record would be against Milwaukee. Long road ahead of them to actually do that, but in the meantime, the victory that they had last night against the Celtics actually gives them a clinch in the Southeast division over Atlanta. They're 15.5 games ahead of Atlanta, and Atlanta only has 15 games to go. The Heat have 16 games to go, but they have actually clinched the Southeast division with 16 games left in the season for them, so that's pretty impressive as well for Miami. But enough about that. We're going to actually take a fan mail question, which is also speaking of injuries, and a perfect example of how New York's fans get, there's an injury and then all of a sudden, the season's over. Steven from the Bronx, right? If Texeira has to miss the remainder of the season, do you guys think the Yankees can still make the playoffs? I mean, Texeira is a great player. There's no question about that. But the Yankees, they have a habit of, throwing money around and picking up guys. So it's a possibility that, they could get somebody to fill in that first base spot very nicely. And, I don't think that one player, especially with a team like the Yankees, is going to decide their future. I think,
It's baseball.
they might have trouble winning the division since Toronto is in that division now, and they kind of did a lot of things in the offseason, as we all know, and that's going to make their schedule a little bit tougher this year. But I still think that the Yankees make the playoffs this year.
And also, Texeira, he's been struggling for the past 3 seasons, and the past 3 seasons they've made it to the AL
We have someone like Cano,
right?
who's in. If we had someone like Cano being injured, then that would be a different story.
Yeah.
And he's over there in the World Baseball Classic. And Rose, have you been
Over 500, by
enjoying
the
this
way.
World Baseball Classic?
I sure have. If we're switching over to that, let me just mention one thing to share one more thing is that they say that it was only his the tendon sheath that actually got injured, and they say that the actual tendon is stable. So there's probably a better chance that he won't have surgery. I just wanted to mention that, even though it pains me to bring good news to the Yankees. I wanted to mention that. So yeah, the WBC, the Dominican Republic has been they actually beat Puerto Rico 3 days ago in the semifinals, or actually to get to qualify for the semifinals. But Puerto Rico and Dominican Republic were already going either way. So I wanted to say a little shout out because my good friend Kurt Smith, who actually played ball for the University of Maine where I went, was playing for the Netherlands, and they actually just got beaten by the Dominican Republic, who are still, they just beat Puerto Rico, correct? And Puerto Rico just beat Japan, who was the 2-time defending champions. So, yeah, like really getting down to the nitty gritty. Yeah,
so
but shout out to my friend.
Shout out to Kurt. Sorry you had to take that loss and go home early.
Yeah.
But Real
great
Fans,
job.
Real Talk send you a salute. You was playing in the game as opposed to watching it on TV. But you will be watching the championship on TV, and that will be Puerto Rico versus Dominican Republic, and that game will actually be tonight. So, if you guys are following, I'm sure you'll be watching that after, Real Fans, Real Talk goes off the air, of course, because we're going to give you the news, and then you can get some of the sports later on in the evening. I'm looking forward to that game, actually. I got to see because, Cano has been doing his thing. Like, he's batting .517 right now. That's unheard of. And there's no one even close to his batting average. So I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully, everything runs smoothly. We don't want another incident like the Mexican-Canadian game a couple of weeks ago where there was an all-out brawl on the field.
He's got a little bit more time to show his stuff before he gets back to playing for the greatest team of all time.
Rose's favorite team, by the way.
I'm glad we don't have sound effects like the radio. You guys are always like, anytime I try to bring up Peyton Manning, it's like, so you probably would have one for the Yankees too.
Yeah. Well, you guys listen. You guys know we're on the radio as well, live Sundays at 7:30 p.m. So if you do want to hear some of those sound effects and just hear what we went over and on the radio, Sunday 7:30 we are live. Just go to realfansrealtalk.com and you guys can listen in. You can also check out our blogs from myself, the Stat Man, intern Tommy, and Face Facts who are on the radio with this as well. Definitely some reading. We try to keep you guys updated with the sports news as well on the site. So realfansrealtalk.com, and of course you can get all of our Twitter information on the website at Real Fan Talk. Though, if you do want to follow us on Twitter, we do follow our fans back. We do answer the fan mail questions, as you see. Thanks again to Steven from right here in the Bronx, where we are live at in BronxNet Studios in the Bronx. So shout out to him. And again, if you want to send us fan mail questions, it's fanmail at realfansrealtalk.com. You see, every week we pull up 2 fan mail questions on the radio show and on the television show. So we do love our fans and we appreciate our fans. So keep sending in those questions. Keep hitting us up on Facebook. Keep hitting us up on Twitter. We will respond, and we will continue to do what we do best. We got a couple of other injuries while we're on the injuries. I know we spent a lot of time on basketball, so we're going to do these real quick. We got Andrew Bynum, who was already injured, but he's going to have another surgery on his knee, which is going to actually put him out for the rest of the season, which means that as a part of that 4-way deal, the 76ers actually got nothing really, because I think Jason Richardson might have played 5 games for them, and Andrew Bynum has played none, and he's going to be a restricted free agent now at the end of the season. So we'll see if they're going to actually take another gamble on him at the end of the season or what. I don't know. Personally,
I would say you gamble with them at that point.
At a way lower salary. Yeah,
you already gambled with him.
You gave up Iguodala for him, who's, you see what the Nuggets are doing, the Knicks as you like to call them.
Denver
you
Nuggets,
see what they're doing. So you got to take a chance, but definitely cut that salary down. He's not gonna get nowhere near what he would have got had he been playing this season. But 7-footers are hard to come by.
You know what though? It's true. It's true. 7-footers are hard to come by. But it's like, at the rate he's going, is it really worth it to hold on to that? It's like going to a bad movie. Do you sit through the whole movie because you already sat through half of it and you waste more of your time?
So you gotta.
You already exactly. But it's a loss of your time.
You kind of hope it's going to get better.
Yeah, you hope it's going to get better.
It will be an interesting.
But it's like it's the economics of like, is it worth your time, right? I don't know if it's worth the money.
We've seen it so many times with players that have come back from injuries and had successful careers, and I mean, he's still young. Yes, he has the series of injuries. When he was playing, he was the second best center in the league. So you can't. It's worth taking a gamble with that. You already gambled 1 year with him, and you lost. You gave up Iguodala, who was your best player, exactly, to the Denver Nuggets, as you already mentioned. And it's
who are streaking themselves, by the way, at 12 in a row right now. Kobe is still out. He has the ankle injury still. And he also has the flu. I mean, we know MJ played through the flu, but that's just MJ. You can't compare these guys.
Does he?
I mean,
the
flu was also during a playoff game too with Michael Jordan.
All right.
Kobe Bryant is definitely the type of all the Lakers here are like, wow, is our season done right now? What do you think, guys? They're all huddled up around there,
oh my gosh.
So we done, Kobe? We done? That's it? It's a wrap?
Kobe's down, guys.
No,
Kobe's
he's not done. He'll definitely
he came out Friday against Indiana. He played for 12 minutes. He missed 4 shots, and
you have to amputate Kobe's legs for him to miss the rest of the season.
Pretty much. I mean, last season he played with that wrist injury throughout the whole year.
He had the whole Patrick Ewing syndrome going last season and was still playing. So.
Exactly.
I just wanted to, you mentioned Denver really briefly, and I wanted to mention Denver because actually they have this streak going on, but they had a game against Chicago the other night. I don't know if you guys saw that. And we're talking about all these, I'm always seeing all these patterns with sports. I love it. But in 2009, when Denver played Chicago last time, they actually had the same incident because if you guys saw the controversy with Joakim Noah, where I don't know if you guys want to get into that at all, but like the goaltending thing really annoys me because when I understand if it's one thing if it's going to affect your team where you're doing it defensively, you have to let the ball come down for the other team to get a shot. But if it's your team going in,
it's offensive goaltending. But
right, I don't like that.
Now here's the thing is could that have been an alley? Could they have said, "Oh, he was just on an alley and he was going for it," but the ball, was come on his way down.
They couldn't even completely determine because that was kind of subjective opinion. Some people were saying it looked like it was out of that cylinder, and other people said it wasn't. But my point was that back in 2009, a very similar incident occurred where they were about to win. Thank you. Sorry. Miami was not Miami. Gosh darn. They were. Denver, other streaking team, was about to win. Sorry. And then Chicago, and that was because they had beat the buzzer with a shot. Yeah. And they reviewed it, and it looked to me like they had beat the buzzer with the shot. At the very end, it was 89-90, which would have brought them to 91-90 to win the game. But then at the end, the referees called it the other way. So it was another heartbreaker, which happened kind of, exactly that time, 2009. So I just thought that was really interesting that the same thing happened now that the Denver Nuggets are streaking. And I personally felt that the Denver Nuggets should have lost that game for that reason and not be streaking anymore.
Denver Nuggets' biggest streak since 1982 with that 12 wins, by the way.
But before I was born. Statman, you was about 15
already.
At that time, right?
36. Old man Statman in the building, ladies and gentlemen.
We got some.
What's going on with your Ravens though? They're finally deciding them that maybe they'll pay somebody else besides their quarterback.
Hey, we got some good news in Ravens land. And yes, they are talking to Ed Reed. I know he had a meeting with the Texans that they say went well, but they're saying now that they're trying to work something out with Ed Reed, which I really hope you got to bring Ed Reed back and let him retire as a Raven because him and Ray Lewis, they have been the heart and soul of that defense for a long time, and Ed Reed's done a lot. Defensive player of the year. He's just everywhere. So you got to give him his due. But they're talking now. They're trying to work it out. Now, I don't know if this is bigger news in Ravens land, but Jacoby Jones, who is, the man responsible for 2 touchdowns in the Super Bowl, one off that amazing kick return and then one of that amazing reception where you got to make sure your guy is tackled and, he manages to break away and get a touchdown. He actually was signed by the Ravens, but also by Dancing with the Stars. So he made his debut on Dancing with the Stars this past week. He was good. They actually, they had called myself and Rose to do Dancing with the Stars, but we had to turn them down, just because.
Bad PR.
Yeah, so we didn't do it.
Stars.
Because I turned them down last time.
Yeah, so it was like,
we can't. Once our fame is on the decline, then we'll go to Dancing with the Stars. But right now, we're too high up.
We're
like Beyonce right now.
Jones, it's more of like a delayed reaction touchdown dance.
Exactly.
Type of thing. So that's why he figured he wanted to dance, celebrate the Super Bowl.
Yeah, so it works. But we actually have that video here. If we can actually play that, because he did his thing. I must say, I had to congratulate him on that. Him and his partner, they look good on the dance floor. So we're gonna get into that right now.
Karina Smirnoff.
Jamming on the one,
I'm kind of regretting turning you down now, dancing with the
Yo,
stars.
they look
Call
good
us.
out there. That's what you call making love on the dance floor out there. And if I'm not mistaken, did they incorporate a little bit of the Ray Lewis dance into that routine?
Seems a little bit like
It definitely looked like it. Oh man, shout out to Jacoby Jones, man. And those Ravens, man, we just keep on winning, man. I hope he goes all the way in the competition. I know they got a 2-7 or 7-6 and an 8 on that performance, but hopefully they can keep it up. They are still on the show, so hopefully they can make it all the way to the end. He can get 2 rings by the end of the spring. Have his second ring.
As you guys noticed, though, there was a little bit of wardrobe change during that.
We had a wardrobe malfunction, or is just
Not a malfunction. Well, it's a little bit of a malfunction since it's in her jersey is in the same size as mine and yours. But she's in the referee outfit.
That's okay.
We do
More
this
pizza.
segment called Shot for Shot on the program. The way it works, we have 2 contestants, 1 judge, referee, whatever you want to call it, which is why Rose is wearing that uniform right now. And we ask a series of 5 questions unless we go to overtime. Whoever she agrees with gets the point. If we both agree, myself and Trip Young, there's no point awarded. We don't give, 5 points out for, nice haircuts or anything like that.
oh man. Just got my lineup and whatnot. Dang.
Well, you got the hat on, so that
You're right.
But it's 1 point only, and with that being said, Trip Young is the defending champion, and the challenger goes first. So, Rose, could you read that first question for us, please?
Absolutely. Okay, Trip Young, which team is going to end their win streak first, Miami or Denver?
Well,
Basketball,
I
NBA,
am
Miami
the challenger.
Heat.
I just said Trip is the champion. It's okay.
Good thing I was listening.
You were MIA the past couple of
Once
weeks.
again,
It's okay.
we are coming to you live from BronxNet Studios, and we are on Cablevision Channel 68 and Verizon 34. So just so you know, this is not a game.
We do air it live every Tuesday, 5:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard
can
Time.
I just say-
there is no editing, there is no cuts. So when Rose, myself, or Trip Young do make a mistake, we keep it rolling. But go ahead, Rose.
All right. Well, I did want to just say that, Trip Young, since you're holding a pink pen, I think it takes a real man to wear pink. I would give you points for that if we awarded points, but we don't.
Oh, man.
So that being said, Trip, no, Statman. Which streak is going to end first in the
Third time's the
NBA?
charm.
Miami Heat or Denver Nuggets? Statman. I got it.
I'm going to have to say the Denver Nuggets, as much as it kills me to say that. I'm just going to go a little bit over this streak and how impressive it was, because it's not all untalented teams that Denver played. And this goes all the way back to February 19th, where they beat Boston. Then the Lakers on the 25th of February. Then OKC. I'm skipping the non-playoff contending teams that they beat in the process. They beat Oklahoma City. They're playing Oklahoma City in Oklahoma City tonight, which is where I think the streak is going to end. They beat Atlanta March 4th. The Clippers March 7th, the Knicks on the 13th, the Grizzlies on the 15th, and then yesterday they beat Chicago in that overtime thriller that we had. The only one of those games that was on the road was the one I mentioned yesterday in Chicago, because I've talked about this several times, and I know there's certain new fans out there that might not know this or might not have heard it, but Denver has a significant home court advantage because the opposing team is not used to playing in that altitude, so they do have some stamina issues where Denver practices there. They're used to being there, and that very high altitude in Denver or for any of the Colorado teams is a significant advantage. So all those games were on the road. They do play at Oklahoma City, and if they somehow manage to do that, they play the Spurs before the Heat do. They play the Spurs on the 27th in San Antonio as well. So the Heat don't play San Antonio until the 31st. So that's I think the Heat streak will possibly end then. The only other competition they might have is Chicago on the 27th, but I'm thinking, the Nuggets lose first. And I know I'm not going to get any disagreement from Trip Young, so.
Why would you say that?
I'm dying to hear.
I was actually going to go.
Go ahead.
Nah, you know what? If they were playing in Denver again, I'd probably say this streak continues, but I don't see them going into OKC and beating OKC. And that game is tonight.
Right.
So I'm actually looking forward to checking that out. So I got to agree with Statman on that one.
Right, and of course, not that it matters because you both agreed, but I agree with both of you as well because, as you both just said, they're going to be in Denver is going to be in OKC tonight, and then, not to mention, Miami Heat has the next 4 games, the 4 worst teams in the East, which is Charlotte, Cleveland, Orlando, and Detroit. Thank you so much. So yeah, their next 4 games are the 4 worst teams in the East.
Not in that order,
right,
but yeah.
Not in that order, exactly.
They
just
can't take their foot off the gas.
And
though.
also, their next 8 out of their next 11 are losing record teams. So yeah, it's
we throw New Orleans in the mix and then Charlotte again.
Yeah.
right, exactly. Okay, question number 2. Try to disagree this time. Which of these NFC playoff teams has made the best acquisition thus far? The Seahawks with Percy Harvin, the Vikings with Greg Jennings, the Falcons with Steven Jackson, or the 49ers with Anquan Bolden? Trip Young.
You know what? This is a tough one. But I'm going to go with the Seahawks on this one and Percy Harvin. As much as I like, Anquan Bolden and going to the 49ers, I thought that was a big acquisition for them. But we know, the issues that the Seahawks have. They didn't have any receivers out there. They have, a top defense. They have a really good young quarterback who is going to be a star in this league for a long time in Russell Wilson. You got beast mode and Marshawn Lynch, but, the issues that they were having is there's no one for Russell Wilson to really pass the ball to. Percy Harvin is a great receiver, and he also gives you that special teams, effect as well because he does return the football, and it's so crazy because pretty much from this acquisition alone, they have the Seahawks at number 1 in the pre-draft rankings right now because they haven't really made any other moves. So but Percy Harvin is going to be a great asset to that team, I just think he makes them that much better, and he gets them to over the hump. They definitely will be in that NFC Championship game this year.
Okay, Statman.
I do see the point with that one. I also see the point with Anquan Bolden with putting
Bolden.
slip of the tongue, Rose. I do see how that puts them, since they were already a Super Bowl team, that might put them over the top and get a Super Bowl championship, as Trip Young said. This is not my pick, but as Trip Young said last week with his conspiracy theory of the 6th-round draft pick for him, which we got into, me and myself got into Sunday's radio show, which airs at 7:30, realfansrealtalk.com. But I'm actually going to go with what I said on the radio also, Steven Jackson, just because the fact that the Falcons did not sign Michael Turner, it's, they needed a running back. And Steven Jackson is one of the best running backs in the league. I think he's going to do a better job than Turner, but this is not an upgrade from Turner. This is not talking about an upgrade from Turner. This is going from having no running back because they didn't sign him to signing Jackson, where they have an elite running back. And, I think that's going to help Matty Ice in the passing game and the team as a whole. I don't see them going as far as the Seahawks. I think the Seahawks are a better team, but that's not what the question is. The question is about the player, and I think picking up an elite running back is the best move out of all of them.
Who's also up there in years for running back as well.
Yeah, I'm going with Trip Young on this one just because they really did need a receiver. I actually thought that Anquan Boldin was the best acquisition as far as an acquisition goes because, I mean, for a 6th-round draft pick, he was key in the Super Bowl. I thought, any one of them could have gotten MVP as far as like Jacoby Bones. There we go, Jacoby Jones. Anquan
Jones. Just make a slip of the tongue over there.
I can make fun of that too.
Jones?
Boney Joni,
Yeah.
Golden, and no, but for a 6th-round draft pick, I kind of agree with you, Trip Young. That does seem like a bit of a conspiracy theory. One brother says, "Here you go, now you win a Super Bowl."
The only reason I actually didn't go with Bolden is because they have a lot of other receivers in San Francisco.
But when it comes to the acquisition for a 6th-round draft pick, it's a steal.
That is a steal.
But yeah, I'll go with you. Percy Harvin was
my
a good
conspiracy
choice
theory
for that,
won't allow me to acknowledge that anymore. I'm not even discussing him anymore.
Number 3, with only a game separating them now, will the Nets finish the season ahead of the Knicks? Oh man. Okay, I know.
Of course, I go first, and you guys are both Brooklyn Nets fans, so it might minus a point for me. But
no. We'll be fair about this.
Haven't been able to pass them throughout, the very short period of time that they had a slight lead against the Knicks. The Knicks have been holding on to that 3rd place spot and 2nd place for a long time now. And like I said, Carmelo Anthony's coming back. I don't think he's coming back Wednesday against Orlando because I don't think they need him to beat Orlando. And they're going to rest him a little bit extra, but he is going to be back. And I think they're going to continue on their winning ways. So I think that the Knicks are going to be able to hold on to that spot.
Okay, and Trip Young, what do you think, Nets or Knicks?
I'm going with the home team, man. I got to go with Brooklyn because these injuries just keep piling on, and first of all, the Knicks is not like they were playing dominating basketball, when everybody was on the court. I can't even say everybody, but when Tyson Chandler and Carmelo, it was kind of still a little bit streaky, as well, and first, they're not even holding on to 2nd place anymore because they're actually in 3rd place right now. So they've already dropped to 3rd place. The lead between them, it was 4 games not too long ago. It's down again, and again, we're talking about the Knicks coming off of losing 4 of their last 5 games. They still have a couple of more games to go. Without Carmelo and without Tyson Chandler, who is the heart and soul of their defense, whereas the Nets are healthy right now and they're pushing. They continue to win the games that they're supposed to win, and then they're coming in and getting those games where it could be a toss-up because they're playing some of the better teams in the league. So they're doing what they have to do, whereas the Knicks, these injuries just keep kicking the Knicks' butt. And a lot of times, even when it's not the injuries, it's the decision-making on the floor, whether they're shooting too many threes, not enough ball movement, or coaches' decisions like we were upset about when watching that game in Boston where we thought that Woodson should have went with Stoudemire and Chandler in the lineup to win the game. So I gotta say, yeah.
Another thing I want to mention real quick, the Knicks, the reason why they're ahead 1 game, they played 2 less games than the Nets. So they could lose the next 2 and then be tied with the Nets as well. So the fact that they don't have those in the loss column and there's not that many games remaining,
There's 27 games remaining, so that's actually a significant amount.
Well, they could lose 2 of them and have 25 remaining, is what I'm saying. Like, it's still a somewhat comfortable lead for the Knicks as well, aside from everything else I just mentioned. But all right, I know you're both Brooklyn fans.
No, you know what, actually... It pains me to do this, but I'm actually giving you the point, Statman, because... Is it
because you just feel bad for me and the Knicks?
I do feel bad for you. It's true. And you know what? And that's not why I'm giving you the point, but I have to say, when we were watching that highlight, and poor Statman's watching that highlight over and over with LeBron, and he's trying to get out about the Knicks injuries, and he couldn't even get out the Knicks injuries because we kept going back to that highlight. So I did feel bad for you then. But no, seriously, I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong. But it pains me because every time the Nets are about to catch up to the Knicks, we lose. We had a chance the other night. The Knicks lost to the Clippers, and it was like, finally, all we have to do is win this game against the Hawks. We just beat the Hawks in Atlanta. We can't even go and get that done. So the Nets are very inconsistent right now, and every time we have a chance to catch up, we don't catch up. So even though, and like you said, you guys can still lose 2 and we'd be tied because we have 2 games extra that we've played. So even though I keep thinking and planning to get ahead of the Knicks every time I think that we're going to. We don't, and I know that's so bad for me to say with my team, and it pains me, and I hope I'm wrong, but I'm giving you that point, stat man. So congratulations. It's really hard to get a point from a Nets fan, but you get it. I think you guys are tied now. So, which quarterback?
It's only 17 games, not 27.
Excuse me, I'm
gotta
sorry.
Work on the math there a little bit.
I mean, listen.
All right, love, love, love. Which quarterback receiver tandem will have the better season? Manning and Welker, because the Denver Broncos just acquired Wes Welker from the Pats, or Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski. Man.
It's obviously gonna be Wes Welker and Peyton Manning. For one, Wes Welker is gonna have a chip on his shoulder, and he's gonna show out next season. Not to mention he's been leading the league in receptions for the past 6 seasons. So, and Peyton Manning is coming off of an MVP-esque season, and where he really didn't have receivers. He kind of just made receivers like he always does, when he's in doubt. So I got to say Peyton and Wes Welker.
I'm going to agree. I said it also on the Sunday's radio show with myself and Rose. St. Patrick's Day special, ladies and gentlemen. You can check it out on realfansrealtalk.com. Manning actually has a good receiver in Welker now, and he's going to be the primary weapon. Brady has the 2 tight end set of Hernandez and Gronkowski. Gronk might get more touchdowns, but overall I think Welker will have the better season, so I agree.
Okay, so nothing really to argue there. I totally agree with both of you anyway with that. I think, we talked about this on the radio, so I won't beat the dead horse too much, but I think Gronkowski is coming off that injury and isn't, we don't even know what he's going to do right now. Although he is a beast, I'm going to say that. Brady also has been going down, and Manning really didn't have anybody to pass to, and he still was an amazing MVP candidate. So, okay, last shot for shot. Good move or bad move using Revis in a trade to help rebuild the Jets? Start with you, Statman.
I'm going to say it's good because they already got that huge contract with Dirty Sanchez taking up a lot of the cap room, and the fact that he's coming off of this, it doesn't get old when I say that, does it?
Not at all.
The fact that, he's coming off the ACL injury, he wants to be the highest paid defensive player in the league, so huge contract. The next thing you know, the Jets have, the Dirty Sanchez contract and his contract, and he's worth something for a trade, but not what they're asking for. So I think it's a good move to get rid of him because they'll have him for one more season, and then they'll end up getting nothing for him afterwards. So,
Trip Young.
I'm gonna say bad move. He's the best player on the team. He's the best defensive player in the league, and he wants to for some strange, absurd reason, he actually wants to play for this team, which
most players say they want to play for
is beyond me. No, not everybody on the Jets wants to be there.
No, not I'm just saying, players in general, like Dwight Howard. Yeah, I want to play for the Magic. Yeah,
but no, he's too significant to this team, and the one sight for sore eyes with the Jets was actually their defense when these guys are on the field. And again, he's the best defensive player in the league. No, you can't. I know they have contract issues, but they'll make a way. And a lot of these guys they can't afford, and they'll release some guys. But Darrelle Revis, he's the one that you got to keep.
I am going with Trip Young on this one because, like you just said, he's the one good thing to the team. I was thinking the exact same thing that you said. He actually, for some reason, wants to stay on this train wreck of a team. I also looked at, I'm not a big tweeter, but Twitter has hashtag Keep Revis going on, and I read on there that if they keep him, they'll somehow be under a $15 million salary cap, whereas if they trade him, they'll just be under a $3 million salary cap. And also, what do they do with all their money, all their trades, and all their drafts? They're getting this precious moments collection of quarterbacks. So all they're going to do is get quarterbacks anyway. So they might as well keep the one good defensive thing they have going. So I guess Trip Young, you win by 1 for this one. Yay!
I guess
Congratulations.
I'm still a champion. I'm still on top. Seven, I think you need to wear your Miami Heat LeBron King James.
The bib.
King James bib next
I'm going
week.
to pull a Sean Fontaine and go MIA so I don't have to wear that.
I'm looking for next.
He still has to wear it when he gets back, right?
Next week we'll have Sean Fontaine with a Giants jersey on, and we'll have Statman with his LeBron James bib.
And Trip Young will be in heaven.
Exactly,
So.
and I'll be in.
And I won't have to wear anything. Yay.
Exactly, so it's gonna be a good thing.
We
Except
are
for
running a
clothes.
little low on time. I just want to mention Jake Long ends up going to the Rams. I also want to talk about the NCAA men's tournament. The brackets were announced, and we are
got the
going
brackets
to
right here.
We are going to have a Real Fans Real Talk bracket. Make sure you like us on Facebook in order to get involved with that. We'll be posting it up there for all of our fans to join in and get their brackets in. And that is facebook.com/Real Fans Real Talk. But it is also
Quick picks. Who you got to take the tournament? Quick picks. Quick, gotta be quick.
I'm not going
Quick. Who you got, Rose? Quick.
All right, Louisville I have for the whole thing, but Final Four would be Louisville. Yeah.
Just one. Who's
Yeah,
the winner?
Louisville. Go Louisville.
I was thinking Louisville, but I just don't think it's anywhere near as close as like most people picking Kentucky like I did last year.
I'm
Like,
taking Duke all the way.
Did you
baby.
do that?
Blue Devils.
Oh. I do like Duke
I had a
too,
better
but
bracket last year than our President Obama. So that
It's
that
always,
man for president.
but it's always like the
2016.
one
We
that
do- we
doesn't
do-
know anything that usually
We
wins
do have
the bracket.
to. We do have to get
Just
this
saying.
last fan mail question in. You know we're big on the fans again. Mickey from Trenton writes, with the way the Celtics are playing without Rondo, do you guys think the Celtics should use him as trade bait next season to start rebuilding?
No. Like, what are you gonna trade him for? Like, I mean, it doesn't make sense. Like, he's young. You know what I'm saying? Like,
And these guys are old, so
Yeah.
it's kind of like Garnett's gonna be. He's not gonna be in the league another 5 years.
they have him
Paul
as
Pierce.
the franchise player right now.
Yeah,
You're gonna
so-
build
Right.
around him, not get rid of him.
And he
for-
does make players better, and it seems like it's been good because the Celtics are seeing what they can do without him, but they're still not like the Miami Heat right now.
Yeah.
Sorry, Statman, but maybe with him again, now they will be like that kind of amazing team that they could be. It's not like they're perfect without him, so they can only get better with him, hopefully.
This is also Women's History Month, so I do want to give a shout out to who we're honoring. We have a special video that we're going to end off with honoring Lisa Leslie, who was in the WNBA in the inaugural draft in '97. She was the 7th overall pick, 3-time MVP, 4-time Olympic gold medal winner.
First to dunk in the WNBA, first to reach the 6,000 point plateau.
Can we run that video now?
Running
Because
the
we got the
video.
clip of that first dunk ever in WNBA.
Yes, as a 6'5" center, she got the first dunk in the WNBA.
That's right.
And we'll
And still looking
show
good
that
at 40 years old, by the way.
Yeah, a model and an
Shortly,
actress as
but-
well.
First to
She
reach
was
6,000
with the,
points.
LA Sparks during her career, 11 seasons over there.
97 to 2009.
Two WNBA championships as well
Right.
with the LA Sparks.
Well, it looks like we're running too low on time, so we're not gonna get to see that video. But we will combine it next week when we do
Those
our
of you
next
that see
spotlight.
the archived episode, we do play our archived episodes. We'll put it on there for you guys, and you can see that video as well. RealFansRealTalk.com, and under RFRT Media, then the drop-down menu. RFRT TV. It also has the live BronxNet player, so if you're watching us on YouTube and you want to catch the show live, we air live every Tuesday, 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the RealFansRealTalk.com website. Has the player for BronxNet Television. So once again, RealFansRealTalk.com, drop-down menu of RFRT Media, RFRT TV, archived episodes, live player, everything on there. So for Rose Claire, Trip Young, I'm Mark the Statman Skevich, and thank you all for joining us, and we hope to see you guys again next week.
We're live. Still streaking, baby. Miami to the top.
Still hating, baby, to the bottom.
Lisa Leslie, we love you. I don't know.
I'm not Real fans, real talk. Real fans, real talk. Real fans, realtalk.com. Real fans, realtalk.com. Real fans, real talk. Real fans, real talk. Real fans, realtalk.com. Real fans, realtalk.com.